Overlook podcast. Hope you guys are having a great week. So much to discuss. Tomorrow is National Signing Day for the high school players, deciding where they're going to go. And then obviously, we'll be talking about some NFL, breaking down some major college news. The ACC schedule just came out yesterday. So I'll be getting a crazy reaction to some of the big games coming up. I think going to be some good ones. And then we'll break down all the recruiting going on in high school. So, how you feeling today, Craig?
Feeling good. I'm excited with this ACC schedule drop, the new 3-5-5 format. That's interesting. Some big matchups for sure. Lots going on in the ACC. Tomorrow is February. It's National Signing Day. That's going to be exciting to see where the pieces fall. And then I'm excited to talk some NFL. A lot of people are going to focus on that late hit at the end, but we're going to get to look back kind of what went down in that Chiefs Bengals game, break it down. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, man. So let's go ahead and start. Major commitments. Let's go ahead and go. We'll go Logan Curry first. So he signed to Jacksonville State. He committed. No official, I think, on the dotted line just yet. But he did sign. So what do you think about that?
That's huge. We saw him week one against North Atlanta. That was his breakout game. He had 10 catches, I think 105 yards in that game. And then he had another big one later on against Shiloh, 105 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he had a really big impact for them. They were heavy running the ball, but he was their top playmaker. He's got a great frame, 6'1", 190, played both sides of the ball. I think he has a physical frame to be a college receiver. Jacksonville State's a great program. So another player that came out, had a great start to his senior season, sustained it, and put in the body to get recognized. So I think he had a great year for sure. And yeah, just that first week, saw with North Atlanta and North Forsyth, one of the best games, but he really did show out in that one. So that will be big. Yeah, 10 catches, 106 yards that first week. Uh, it's a big time playmaker right there, and also getting it done at the safety spot. But I just think that he has that frame to where, I mean, 6'1", 190 at the high school level. He'll fill out a little bit more, and I think he'll have a good career.
I agree. Also, I wanted to bring this by you, Craig. I'm doing this live. Currently, we are live right now. I was talking to Ben Guthrie right now. Just thinking about having him on about 1:30, about a 15-minute interview. What you think about that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
we're gonna try to coordinate that. That'll be obviously after we discuss everything that we have on the show today. But I've been hitting them up now. But I know tomorrow's National Signing Day. I know GPB is gonna have all the coverage. But to be able to have him on, and I might see like tomorrow. I know your show is on tomorrow. See if we can get a couple maybe players afterwards that want to
Yeah,
join you,
that'd
just
be
talk
really
the commitment.
cool.
So yeah, we're gonna definitely do that. But yeah, I think a great commitment. Logan Curry obviously played for North Forsyth. He had a great senior season. Made some big time plays. He was a big time receiver for them and their run. Unfortunately, it went out second round, but they had a great season overall, second in the region, competed for a region title this past season. But I guess we could wait for the Ben Guthrie commitment since we probably going to try to have him on. But let's talk Prentice Aaron Nolan. He lands a major offer this past weekend, Alabama offer. I mean, that's pretty huge.
I think what's exciting about that one is he went to, we got some Bama fans in the building right now, but he went to their junior day and they offered him on the spot. I think that's his 30-second offer. And what's interesting about him, I actually discovered this today when I was looking at his stats. His freshman and sophomore season, he didn't have a single rushing touchdown. He's a true
Wow.
pocket passer. Last year we did see him. I think he had 6 rushing touchdowns. We see that frame filling out. He's always been really tall, but he's starting to really look like a college quarterback. And as I said, he showed up to the junior day at Alabama. They offered him right on the spot, and
Yeah.
you see why. Just when you see him throw the ball, he's left-handed. He's got a absolute cannon, extreme accuracy, can just see the field. I just can't say enough good things about him. And I was also thinking, it's like we're kind of taking it for granted because you look back before like the 2010s, Georgia really didn't have many superstar quarterbacks coming through. We've had so many now. If Prentice Aaron Nolan was a guy that was coming up pre Deshaun Watson, pre Justin Fields, pre Trevor Lawrence, he'd be the biggest name in the state. I mean, he is the highest rated right now, but just that celebration. I don't think people realize how special of a talent this guy is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just reiterated again. I mean, last year, 55 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions. And like you said, he didn't have any rushing touchdowns. You may think of him and look at him, oh, he's a mobile quarterback. No, he's a pocket passer. He will use his legs when he has to, but he's showing that he can beat you inside the pocket, making great reads, pinpoint accuracy. He's shown all that in his development. So he's already had the major offers. He's just racking them up even more. And then obviously next year they'll try to defend that state title.
Yeah, and just think about the saying, like, there's only one football. He did such a good job at spreading the ball out with all those playmakers. Everyone seemed to have a great season, but when we see him throw the deep ball or have these big completions down on the corner of the end zone, he has that arm talent, but then he also is very careful with the ball. He just knows how to keep the chains moving. Team that rarely goes 3 and out is just an offensive powerhouse. So I like that about him too. He's not forcing anything. He trusts his arm. He trusts his teammates, and just a outstanding junior season, and just more to come from him.
Definitely. And then I seen a tweet, this is from Recruit Georgia, saying that this could be the ball that rose for this player, player that was kind of underrated. He was recognized as a top junior in Max Preps rankings. Craig, you know this name very well. Bryce Hicks just landed a Memphis offer. Just from your perspective, Craig, talk about where you think that can have him end up prior to the season, going into the offseason when offers start to kind of really come in. Him letting this, and guy that was really underrated but made our scores top 10, but is starting to get national recognition now and landing major offers.
It's coming for sure. So before this season, he was a guy, when he stepped on campus as a freshman, I mean, I've seen plenty of people, they'll comment on it and say, when I first saw him, I knew he'd probably be the best player to ever come through Carrollton. He's just so explosive. He's good at running the ball, catching the ball. You put the ball in his hands, he's going to make a big play. He had some offers back in June before the season started. I think it was Coastal Carolina, some other ones. And then his recruiting, it's not that he wasn't still being pursued, but it kind of just took a pause. It's like, okay, he's gotten some early attention. Let's see what he does this season. He just continued to lead his team with big games, doing it all defensively, offensively, running the ball, making big plays. And as you said, now it's like he gets the Max Preps All-American team. You see just the amount of, I think, 22 rushing touchdowns, 10 receiving touchdowns, and then the Memphis offer. He's going to have a really busy offseason, busy summer, and then I think, yeah, he's going to be in that 4-star athlete role, and he'll find a fit for sure.
Yeah, and me and you both talked to Joey King this past season, and he relentlessly said that was the best player on the team, regardless of having Juju and the other great talent they had, Caleb Odom. He said that's the best player on their team. And, he plays defense. He plays cornerback. He's a threat off the backfield, catching and receiving. He can run it well. I think that game against Coco County, they had 37 rushes, 200+ yards. So
insane.
Yeah, he showed you that he could be a kind of a bell cow and somebody that you can trust giving the football to. So, shout out to Bryce Hicks, man. I'm glad it's coming together for him. But Craig, you interviewed some coaches, major carousel this past offseason. We just had a recent hire. I think it was Drew Schnick for Collins Hill. But just what have you seen latest from the coaching carousel, and what do you think it'll all mean going into next season?
I think the one we are looking probably in the next couple of days is Eric Godfrey. There's been some noise that he might go across town to North Gwinnett. I think that'd be a huge hire. I think he was 76-32 at Parkview. Let him do a Final Four. Just did a really good job there, and he did voluntarily step down. I think it is to take that job. That's the big one I'm looking forward to. You still have the Allatoona one open. Let's see. Looks like Centennial still open. I was talking to Coach O'Sullivan. Coach O'Sullivan. He's out there. But, yeah, that job's still open. And then what was the other big one? Let's see. Yeah, McEachern. McEachern's still open for sure. So those are two big-time jobs, North Gwinnett and McEachern. I think those will be filled very soon. Can't imagine it going much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And I think another one that was recently hired was the Ringo coach. I think he's going to have on Monday. What do you think that hire means as far as that program goes, and what it can be going into next season?
Yeah, that's Austin Crisp. I think it's going to be a seamless transition. He's one of the coordinators, got promoted through it. He takes over for a long time, Coach Atkins, who'd been there forever. But I think with him, he's really comfortable with the community. He just had his first kid back in August before the season started. I just think that'll be an exciting transition for him to just see. I mean, that's what coaches kind of wait to see. It's like, okay, you're a coordinator for a while, you try to start a family, try to get roots at a program. He has it there. And I think Ringgold is part of that area in North Georgia with Adairsville, all those schools. They've been really stepping it up, and even it with Cass, with Hiram. That area is really hot right now, Calhoun. So I think it'll be a good hire and just having someone that comes in through the program.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we're going to see still a lot more signings coming up and across the landscape, and coaches obviously landing in different places and spots. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as we go forward. But Craig, for you going into tomorrow's show, drive for the state title, just what's your plan for tomorrow for signing day, and what are you most looking forward to as far as the signings?
Yep, and one correction. Yeah, O'Sullivan's at Pope now from Centennial, so that one is still open. That's my bad. But tomorrow, I just want to see. Well, first of all, I think we're going to see some surprises. See how these final classes round out. Programs like Alabama and Georgia are already at that like 26, 28 class, whereas Georgia Tech still probably has about 7 or 8 scholarships to hand out. So I think that's the interesting mark. It's like, yeah, the top SEC ones, they really do a good job during the early signing period, but it's going to be the Georgia States, Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech. That's who I'm really going to be watching for, just to see those guys that we saw play. I mean, you look at Georgia Tech's incoming class right now: Zion Taylor,
Yeah,
baller;
yeah.
Bryce Dobson, playmaker, baller. I mean,
Bailey Stockton.
Yeah. So those are the guys that I'm looking forward to seeing tomorrow. Guys that we got to see firsthand,
Yep.
and that didn't go in that early signing period, that blew up late. That's really going to be the key interest right there, and we'll be covering it. Usually, people start signing their letters of intent, gosh, as soon as they walk into the building at like 8:15. So we'll have plenty of news. We'll go live at noon and try to catch up on it. And then obviously there's some big decisions made later in the afternoon with, the drill, the tables in front of them. There's 4 different hats and they pick one. So we'll be covering all. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, it will. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. We'll also be live on our YouTube page as well, and also live on NFHS Network. So definitely tap into that. That link will be sent out early tomorrow morning. Be live at noon. There'll be a lot of coverage, and obviously we'll be throwing in breaking news as Craig is live. Try to have some guests calling in, and then obviously we'll have some live tweets as well thrown in there. Just news, and having kind of Craig react to it and give his thoughts on it. But one major commitment before we move to our second segment of the show. I don't know if Craig saw it, but it's happened about an hour ago. Eli Burrow officially commits to West Georgia, probably going to sign a letter of intent tomorrow. He landed that offer January 27th for that school. So I was very excited for him. I saw him blowing up. He was the guy that made our score Atlanta's top 10, a list composed by me and Craig. So we're happy for him, and can't wait to see what he does on the next level. But again, a guy that just, worked hard, put his head down. He had over 186 total tackles this past season. Just a guy that just flying around to the football. So we thought he was a really impactful player for Cedartown, and he's going to be able to play on the next level. So I love to see it.
Yeah, he was an absolute beast. He played so well in that state championship game against Jefferson, and it was a tough way to end his varsity career. He didn't have many offers, but it is great to see that work pay off. And the West Georgia offer is just absolutely massive. It's a great program. I think he's going to really buy in there. And, gosh, he's a hard worker, an absolute beast, and can really tackle. So that's not only a great opportunity for him, but I just think that West Georgia is really going to be happy with the fact that they landed him. He's going to come in ready to hit.
Yes, I think he will. And, it's exciting, great career for him, and see where he is today. So a lot going on. And obviously, I think before we came on here and talked, Antoine Hill, another guy out of Houston County, landed another major offer, landed Ole Miss offer. And I think we saw Luke Nickel, too, the sophomore class. Let's talk about that really quick, the 2025 class. Landing major offers. Luke Nickel landed a Penn State offer. EJ Colson, we talked about last week. Craig was reacting, or I think I did. He's landing major offers. It wasn't really talked about a lot, but sophomore class 2025 is landing major offers across the board as far as the quarterback class. So, what do you think about that?
That's right. Yeah, I was trying to think of who's in that class. Yeah, those three names right there.
Yep.
I mean, outstanding years. You have Antoine Hill competing in that incredible region with Lee County, Northside, Warren Robins, all those teams. I think they even played Gainesville. Was it
They did
in the playoffs?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
great experience for him as a sophomore. Talk about Luke Nickel at Milton, the season he had going into that role, and got a new coach. Incredibly challenging schedule. He leads them to a region title, leads them to a big playoff win. So I think he had a great year. Can't say enough good things about him. And then EJ Colson, look at who he played all season long at Cedar Grove.
Right.
Big moment after big moment. Had a great year. A lot of promise with those young quarterbacks. They've got 2 more years left. That's going to be really exciting.
Yep, I agree. So before we transition, Craig, to the second segment of the show, is there anything else that stood out to you, or the high school landscape you wanted to hit on or talk about before we transition?
Yeah, I think the Bailey Stockton news that you remind me of, it's just incredible to see him land at Tech. And what I think is so interesting in it, Prince Avenue Christian, it's in Bogart. That's right next to the University of Georgia. You have Coach Rick's son. He's coaching there. It's a fairly new school in terms of the GHSA. And then there really seemed to be a direct pipeline to the University of Georgia with Griff, the head coach, his son, Bailey. He was a lock to go to Georgia. He was a 5-star quarterback. To see Bailey, though, go to Georgia Tech, that shows Prince Avenue. They aren't just a potential pipeline with their quarterbacks to Georgia. They're taking over the state right now with that air raid system. And you just look at the numbers they're putting up in that style. It's unheard of. 2 consecutive years with 3 receivers going over 1,000 yards. So they just keep doing it. And to see them go to Tech, that opens up a big opportunity. And then that's, as we said, it's going to determine, does Aaron Philo go there? I know he's been picking up the offers too. So I think it's just interesting to have Prince Avenue Christian now represented at Georgia and Georgia Tech.
Agree. Well said. Yeah, it'll be interesting where Philo goes next year. He's obviously a junior, threw for over 4,000 yards this past season. But it'll be interesting to see, what happens there if he goes with his teammate to Georgia Tech. But Georgia Tech's landed some major players this past offseason and going into the next season. As far as just on the Georgia realm, the Zion Taylor that we mentioned, Bailey Stockton, that we mentioned, Bryce Dobson from Brookwood that we mentioned. So hometown players staying home and going to Tech. So it'll be interesting to see next year. Again, I thought, a team on the rise. I've been saying that all off season. And I think they've been doing some major things inside the program. And I think it's starting to pay off a little bit. So we'll leave it there as far as our high school news. We'll go ahead and go to some college news. We'll go ahead and start with, obviously, Stetson Bennett. Is arrested in Dallas. Actually, pretty interesting. I heard that he actually declined the Senior Bowl invite. You guys don't know, I think the Senior Bowl is either the practices are going on this week or the media days are going this week. I think they'll play the game in pretty soon here. But he declined the offer there, and ironically gets arrested a couple of days later for public intoxication. So, Greg, what is your reaction to those news?
I think the thing that concerns me is the call came at 7:10 a.m. You know the saying, like, nothing good happens after 2 a.m. Well, if you're still up at 7:10 a.m. on a Sunday morning, I think you're partying a little too hard. My suggestion is stick to beer next time, or I don't know. That's insane. Staying up till 7:10, knocking on people's doors. And listen, he's 25 or whatever. Obviously, this could be a learning experience for him.
Right.
But it's like, at the same time, let's talk about his image real quick. It's like, after the first national championship, everyone was cracking up when he went on. I think it was Good Morning America, could barely form a sentence. He had to wake up the next day and relearn the English language. He was so hungover. Then,
oh man.
Then you see the same thing this last time, I think, at the post-game parade. He tried to give a speech, and it was just like, hey, man, you might be a little too intoxicated. And then to see this, there is a little concern there.
Right.
Just in terms of his image, it's like, just, hey, man, this is a learning opportunity. You can do better.
Yep.
Don't stay up that late. Like, come on, man. 7-10 a.m. Really?
That is late too to be doing
Yeah.
that. So my thing to you is obviously you mentioned the concern being there, and obviously big thing going into draft, especially in the NFL draft, is that image that you mentioned. And do you think that image and kind of what he's been doing lately, obviously with the arrest, and then the year before with being kind of hungover going to Come On in America, do you think that will keep teams away when he tries to go into the draft? Because obviously he's not really pegged as a top prospect. He's more pegged as a late rounder, fourth, fifth, third round kind of a player. So do you think that will force him to go even deeper, like to the sixth, seventh round potentially, or even under?
I think it does say something to kind of what's his mindset right now.
Right.
It shows, listen, it's like he put his heart and soul into his Georgia career. We can say that. But now it's like his opportunity. He's got to prove himself at the NFL level.
Yeah,
like
you
he's
do.
really got to prove himself. And so to see him, I don't know what he was doing, but he obviously was out just hanging out, pushing it to the limit. It's like, well, you aren't focusing on the combine. You aren't focusing on
The next
trying
level,
to get paid right now. It's like you're still kind of
glorifying the good
exactly.
days.
Yes. I think that's what might cause concern for people.
Right.
But I do think, I mean, he can get focused, but it's like, listen, man, this is the window to even try to get drafted. So why are you out partying on? Yeah. It's like,
I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, obviously, it's like, okay, I get his perspective because it's like, man, I put my heart and soul into it, and I won two back-to-back natties. But at the same time, it's like you got to reprove yourself all over again. So, it's tough. And then, he's already being, you could say the word slighted because they already have 7, 8 different quarterbacks that, according to draft experts like Mel Kiper, that think that are better than Bennett, even though he's been on the big stage and won in the SEC, which is tough to win in, and has done it back-to-back years. So, I mean, that's a great point. I think that's a good way to kind of juxtapose the two. So, we'll happens with them. Hopefully, it's a learning experience, as Craig alluded to. Um, and we'll see kind of what happens down the line. Let's look at this quick comment. Okay, Jimmy Cash says, in my opinion, he's not an NFL quarterback. He was a veteran collegiate quarterback at best.
And that's what I kind of feel with it. It's like, I really do think he had to battle for his job like year in and year out.
Yep.
You have these other starting quarterbacks in the SEC where they're winning national championships. There's already that conversation happening about their NFL careers. That really was never there. So it's something he would have to prove that he's focused and wanting
Capable.
to do. It's like
Right.
he should be on social media right now, like showing that he's working out, trying to get drafted, saying, I want to be a professional quarterback. He's not doing that. So that's why people are going to have that question. Was he just a guy that wanted to be a quarterback, wants to go into business? I mean, let's be real. The guy won 2 national championships. I'm pretty sure he can find success in the real world at this point. He's an absolute hero at the University of Georgia. So it's like, does he really want to be an NFL quarterback? Remains to be seen.
It's a good point. We'll leave it there. Great point by Craig. All right, let's talk about the ACC schedule. It was announced yesterday. Major matchups, obviously. So I think one that stands out to me will obviously be LSU, Florida, September 9th. That's going to be I think the season opener. They actually opened the season last year as well in a close game. It was a PAT blocked by Florida State that ended the game that didn't send into overtime. So it was a thrilling game to open the season. But Florida State is regarded as the top team, one of the top teams in the ACC, them and Clemson. So what do you think about that matchup? And then year 2 under Brian Kelly, who had a really good season under LSU, came up a little bit short, but they were in the SEC title game. So what do you think?
I think it's huge. Those are definitely 2 of the teams we talked about as the biggest question marks. They have the ability to honestly go back to the conference championship game, but it will take a lot more than just a close win over Alabama. It's like they know what the deal is this time around. I think LSU is going to be a great team, but Florida State has been trending in the right direction, and having that game on the schedule early, that's a big area of attention. I mean, they're going to be ready to prove something in that one. I think that might be a Labor Day game, but yeah, certainly one of the best games all season, and it's early on.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and
Whoever
then
wins that one, I mean, that's a big resume builder.
agreed. And then the next big one will be obviously Clemson, Florida State again, top two teams coming to the conference in the next year. That's September 23rd. I think that's going to be a really intriguing game between those two teams too. Can Clemson rebound after that ugly loss to Notre Dame, and can they rebound after that? Really bad loss to Tennessee in the bowl game. How will their season look? All we talked about all the prospects from Georgia going to Clemson, the Avion Terrells, the Khalil Barnes, a multitude of players that are actually going there. And they just signed the guy from Troup County, Noah Dixon, actually just committed there 4-star. So,
Yeah, I think with Clemson, we're going to see if they come out. It's not that they have a chip on their shoulder. They really did get embarrassed last year. It wasn't just, oh, we underperformed. They had really bad games where people were questioning whether or not Clemson is even like top tier anymore. And even in the bowl game, who'd they play? Was that who did Clemson play in that bowl game?
Tennessee.
Tennessee, that's right.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even in that game, it's like, oh, Clemson, they might make it competitive at the end. They just didn't have it at all.
No.
So there's a lot of question marks. I think this offseason is just going to be about getting back to the fundamentals and basics, being a physical team, and having better focus. It's just on who the guys are, what your role is. I think they are going to be improved, and they're definitely going to want to kind of refurbish their just overall image around their program just after last season. I think they're going to be extremely motivated. You mentioned all those young guys that are going to come in and compete for these starting jobs. That's going to be exciting too. And I think we're going to see a good blend of the young talent and the returning starters that could make them very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. And then, for Clemson, what step will Carson Beck take in the next year? To starting quarterback, how good will he look going into next season? Receiver wise, you haven't really heard a dominant receiver Clemson in a long time. Really since a couple drafts like T. Higgins. Really, it's the latest one that stands out to me. That's really stood out. They obviously got a good running back in Will Shipley, but can Carson Beck take that next step next year? I think it'll be interesting. And for Florida State, can they continue to build under Coach Mike Norvell, or Novell? Excuse me. 10-3 last season, really good season. Very competitive. So. Can he take that next step and have them contend for an ACC championship? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, you got to have the big play receivers.
Yeah,
just have to. I mean,
yeah.
Got to have the guys that can catch the short shifty routes, and you got to have the big play guys downfield. It's like their offense last year was just anemic. Didn't even show up in that Notre Dame game whatsoever. Anytime they were down and needed a score to get back in a game, they just couldn't get it done. So offensively, obviously, that's the biggest concern for them is getting back to it. They'll probably have a physical line. You mentioned the running back.
Yep.
It's just about marrying the run and the pass game and just being consistent, putting pressure on the defense. I think they're definitely going to be improved, but can they get to an elite level next year? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And actually announced this year there's going to be no more divisions as far as ACC. It used to be ACC Coastal. And I think I can't remember the other one. ACC Coastal. I think ACC South. I might be wrong, but forgive me for that one. But it will be no more of those. So it'll be interesting to see how will Miami look in this new year. They've landed some major prospects. Another Georgia guy that's going there, Joshua Horton. How will that look? Will he be getting any playing time in his freshman season? How will that come together on the year 2 under Mario Cristobal? So that'll be interesting to see too. How good can Miami be in the second year? Can they be competitive as well? Like I said, ACC, we haven't seen it be ultra competitive up top in a really long time. I think this year has that potential for it to be really competitive between the teams and really to make some noise. It'll be interesting to see how it goes out.
Yeah, what do you think in terms of like top heavy? How many potential teams could be in that conversation for an ACC title next year? Because it's just it's Clemson and well maybe they'll play Virginia Tech or something. It's like if there's 5 solid teams next year, that's what they need. They need more excitement.
Yes,
in the ACC.
They definitely need more excitement. If I had to say right now, without knowing and looking at rosters, I say 3. I think Miami's going to have I think you could say Miami will have a kind of a Florida State year last year. I think they'll be really good. I think you could peg them about 8 to 9 wins next year. I think obviously Clemson will be there again. I think Florida State will be there. I think it'll be very top heavy. I don't know if it'll be like solid, like like you ever think about Big 12 basketball, teams just knocking each other down. It'll be that solid, but I think it'll be like I think you have like 3 top notch teams, and I think for Wake Forest, another team. I don't know. It's hard to say because another matchup that we're looking for, obviously Wake Forest and Notre Dame. Sam Hartman is going to Notre Dame now, and he was their quarterback, ACC passing yards leader, and things like that. But how will their offense look in or in the new year? Not having Sam Hartman as their quarterback, who's going to step up? So that'll be interesting to see also for Wake Forest program.
Yeah, when I think of Wake Forest, and it's no disrespect to them at all, but it's like they're a team to me where it's like they're going to show up and play well, but then they're probably going to lose 24-35. It's like they're always in the game. They're always competitive. So there's a lot of teams like that. I think UNC is another one, but it's like the ACC, especially with this new format they're going to, trying to create these rivalries where you play the same 3 ACC opponents a year, it's got to be 3 or 4 deep. It's got to have that excitement this year that we haven't seen in the past with front runners like Clemson. But I think Florida State's on the up and up.
Yep.
And then Miami, they obviously have a lot to prove too. I think they'll be exciting to watch there.
And I forgot a team. Actually, that was disrespectful of me. I didn't say Georgia Tech. Okay, so I forgot that they're in the ACC. So that might be another sneaky school at the 4 or 5 spot that could be potentially dangerous because I think they've retooled their roster. I like their hires, Tim McFarland, Bill Stewart. Obviously, it's going to take time and cohesion to kind of build that all together. But I think that's a team, too, that you might see, okay, hey, well, they won 7-8 games this past season. Okay, they're on the come up. That's another team that I think could be at that 4 or 5 spot next season. So it'll be interesting to see. And to your comment, Jimmy, I don't know about that one. Maybe Clemson SEC, but I don't know about
Who
Miami.
should we trade for? Trade for Vanderbilt and
what could you throw out there? Maybe Arkansas.
Yeah, let's trade. That'd be fun.
It'd be interesting to see if they could actually compete, though. I know Clemson could, but Miami, that'd be an interesting one because they've played Bama, past, few years and a couple seasons. They've taken it to Miami in season openers and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see if they could actually hang. I think Clemson could. Miami, that's another question. But they are a team on the rise. So we'll leave that there.
Yeah, and just with the new playoff format, let's just keep that in mind. It's going to give teams that might lose an early one more motivation to
keep going,
keep playing well. Yeah, so maybe that makes things more interesting in the ACC this year.
I think, does that go and play this year or next year?
I thought it was this next year. I thought it was supposed to be in 2 years, and then it moved it up.
That'll be interesting. We'll obviously, get that question done and answered before our next podcast. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, definitely with the 12 team, that's going to be interesting. But what do you think about the prospects of Notre Dame next year? How good do you think they'll be?
That's interesting. I mean, you look at their recruiting classes, they're always doing well. It's just with them, they have these marquee games they always play in. A lot of attention surrounding them, but it's like they still have, in my opinion, just like an inconsistent schedule, just always being an independent team for all those years. It's like not having a slip-up game, that's really hard.
Yep.
And that's just the key for them. It's like, can they be a team that doesn't – and you can't even say that they peak because usually they just start the year in the top 10 and then off. But it's like if we can see a Notre Dame, which they did play well a lot of weeks last year, get better as the season goes on and build, that's what they've been missing. It's like they always start off so high and then they fall off and then they have to climb back up. But if they can just start off and keep getting better, that's the one thing they haven't been able to do.
It's a great question. Yeah, I feel like, last year you saw some of the things on the sideline with the offensive coordinator and, he yelling to his quarterback, just do your job, and you saw that kind of fizzle up, and then you saw them kind of hit their stride a little bit mid-season towards the end, beating a Clemson team that was in the running for the college football playoffs. So they've shown, flashes of, what they could be potentially. So it'll be interesting if they can put it together for a full season and really make some noise, But they'll have another tough schedule, obviously. But
who knocked them off last year?
They had some bad losses. Yeah. Notre Dame did. Let's see. You can look that up really quick.
Who was it? Marshall. That's right.
Yeah, that was like the major upset. Let's see.
That's right. And yeah, so they always start the year in the top 10. They have a bad
Every
loss, and
year.
then they have to try to prove themselves later on, which that win was huge over Clemson. But they've got to just find a way to just get better throughout the season. It's like you don't have to blow teams out, but keep winning and build that momentum.
Exactly. Okay, guys. So we're gonna look at it really quick here. Yeah. So Notre Dame, that was the first because I actually it was kind of interesting. It was a lot of upsets in the early part of this schedule last year between teams. So that was one. They beat California. They beat UNC. They beat BYU. They lost to Stanford. That's that program's kind of hasn't been in the spotlight for a long time. Then they had wins against Syracuse, UNLV. They beat Clemson pretty good. They hung on to beat Navy. Um, they beat Boston College really good. USC was another one. So those were the three losses for them last year. But yeah, I would say Marshall and obviously Stanford. Those were the programs I think that kind of put the chink in kind of their armor of not going to the college football playoff.
Yeah, they probably had about two more losses than they probably should have. But I mean, that's a tough schedule they played. Got to give them the credit for that at least.
Yeah, for sure. But anything else in the college land perspective? I noticed major things you want to discuss. You sent to me last night. That stood out to you.
Yeah. So let's see real quick.
Yep.
We're talking about the coaching carousel at the high school level and just how busy it's been. And then I was looking at articles from last year, and they were just talking about how there's never been a time where the coaching carousel starts earlier at the college level, and just how busy it's been.
Yep.
And this right here at highlight 2021, how it says Scott Frost, Clay Hilton, the former Nebraska and USC coaches were fired before week 3 of the season. So keep in mind, it's like some coaches are getting fired early into the year if they aren't having that success. Well, then you're having to fill those early on. But what is the downside of hiring coaches and putting them in position early? You're selling hope because you haven't seen them prove anything yet. So you have to sell hope to the players that are coming in for the recruiting class. You have to sell hope to the booster clubs, the fans, that this is the right hire. And so it does put a little bit of pressure on them in that sense. And it's also kind of raises the celebrity of your coaching hires when you're kind of putting it on him with these early signings, like, hey, look who we have now, come here.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to see that just from the business side, it makes the coaches that celebrity figure that you're trying to draw them to, or draw players to kind of follow them.
Yep.
I think we see it with Deion too. He's changing the entire game.
He is.
For sure.
He is.
And so, yeah, I think just that aspect of it, how the coaches are able to move around more at college, and they do have to sell like a vision. They have to sell hope to the fans and just build that excitement.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too. I've seen something as well. Willie Taggart is obviously used to be the former Florida State coach. He's going over with Deion from Florida Atlantic, pairing with Deion over there in Colorado too. So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of meshes as well. But yeah, I think like you said, major move as far as the coaching tree goes. Obviously, you mentioned the Clay Helton and the Scott Frost. I mean, that'll be interesting to see how that all mans out. Obviously, in their coaching trees. But I think we're in for a good year next year in college football. Obviously, can't wait for the SEC schedule to be released and things like that. Obviously, tomorrow's National Signing Day. It'll be really interesting to see how everything goes.
Absolutely. Obviously, the SEC is always going to be great, but I think the storylines outside of it are way better than they were this last year.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the Ohio State-Michigan game this next year, see what that looks like.
That'd
be excited about USC. I'm excited about Colorado to see how many wins they can get. Excited about the ACC, what Tech's going to be able to do. I mean, I think it is going to be really interesting year across the college landscape, and obviously a lot of changes at Georgia too. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And me and Craig will have all the coverage, obviously, going into next season.
Bama can get back to form.
Yeah, I mean, they landed. I think our buddy Graham said they landed like 9 5-stars this past season. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, obviously. But yeah, we'll have all the coverage next season, as Craig mentioned. I think the Ohio State-Michigan game will be interesting. Who their starting quarterback is going to be next season. with C.J. Stroud declaring for the draft. Michigan's bringing back a lot of their major prospects: Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy. How would they look going into next season? It's like they keep knocking on the door, knocking, but can't really get over the hump. We've seen them in the college football playoff, but I don't think they've won a game in the college football playoff yet, have they? Or am I mistaken?
I don't
think
No.
so, right?
Michigan,
right? Michigan hasn't won a college football playoff game, right? No, yeah. So
and Grim, the playoffs are going
definitely
to
not.
8 teams next year, right?
That's another year, right?
Next year, right?
Following year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. Yeah, I figured that. Yeah, I think they got one more year. It got pushed up from 2025 to 2024.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
what I figured. But yeah, guys, that's what we got as far as our coverage for college football, and we'll keep reacting as the news and headlines come in. But let's talk NFL. I'll throw it to Craig first. What is the topic you wanted to hit on first that stood out to you this past weekend?
Let's just give some credit to the Philadelphia Eagles real quick and what Jalen Hurts has done. When he got drafted, they had just paid Carson Wentz. A lot of people were
A lot
like,
of money.
okay, what are we doing? We have our guy. Well, Carson Wentz struggles. He comes in. Last year was his first full year as a starter. Comes in this year, has a MVP level season, and he's got his team in the Super Bowl. He's eligible for a contract extension after this season on his rookie deal. He has an opportunity to get paid big time. So I just think the situation could not be better. He's got the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and so I think that's exciting.
Yeah, definitely MVP caliber season. I want to just talk about his journey in general. Imagine you having the starting spot, winning a national title with your team, Alabama, and then you being taken out in the national title game, Tua being the starter, and you having to come back in the college football playoff game against Georgia, having to lead your team on a drive and leading them to the national title. I mean, his journey is incredible, and he had that fortitude. He had that mental toughness to just be able to get through obviously, and being able to, keep going. And like I said, I love his comment, the daily deposits, and things like that. His mindset, being the coach's son, he just always a cool, calm demeanor dude. And then he went and balled out after Alabama. He went and balled out at Oklahoma, and he was a Heisman finalist. I think he was top 2 in voting. So he just showed, his talent, what he's able to do. And I mean, yeah, like Craig said, Carson Wentz is about to be potentially either out of the league or on his third team, after that whole thing with Philly. And, his first year starting for Jalen Hurts, he made the playoffs, right? Wasn't pretty. I mean, he went against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers and lost ugly. And there was a lot of questions surrounding Hurts. Can he make the throws? Is he an NFL quarterback? It was a lot of questions. But what did Philly do? What did Howie Roseman do, who should be probably executive of the year? Went out and surrounded him with more talent, got really great defensive talent around him, getting C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the trade, getting Hassan Riddick in the trade, who's a game wrecker on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, traded for A.J. Brown, a true number 1 receiver. Obviously, Devontae Smith is too, but having 2 number 1s is better than 1. And then, surrounding him with even more talent, drafting well. All that stuff made a difference. And as I said, obviously, Mahomes is the dude, but I think you have to say that I would take Hurts over Mahomes, and only for the sole reason. Obviously, Mahomes, one leg, his ankle was hurt. What he did in the AFC title game was incredible. We'll talk about that. But look at the drop off for Philly when Hurts was playing and when he wasn't. They were 1-2 when he wasn't playing, and they're 16-1 actually, including playoff games with him playing. That makes a big difference. And you're seeing the effect that he has on the game. And even though last game he didn't throw for a bunch of yards, I think it was 140, 150 yards passing, but his effect of the game just really makes a difference. And I think that's why, to me, he should be an MVP.
Yeah, and we were talking, I think last week, I was saying just with Dak or whatever, you watch him play, sometimes the throw goes a little too high, the receiver doesn't catch it. Jalen Hurts receivers are making those catches. That catch by Devontae Smith, the one-hander, it's like sometimes the quarterback, when he's just like that leader, you guys just make special plays together, and you said it. You look at his journey to this time and place where he's at with Philadelphia, and then the pieces around him, I don't think he could be in a better situation right now. So that's why it stands out to me. It's like, yeah, in that game, he really didn't have to do much. People are going to be like, oh, he was 15 of 25. It's like, well,
Right.
Come on. I mean, San Francisco barely got 160 yards of offense. They were struggling. It's not that like he's going to go out there and try to throw for 300 yards. kind of cruising and winning the game. So I'm excited to see what he does. Playing for a Super Bowl, it's a big moment. He's played in big games before, but I've been impressed with just the pieces around him, what Philly has been able to do this season, and just credit to him for being in the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah, definitely credit to him. And, we'll go to obviously the opposite side of the spectrum and talk about San Fran now. But it's tough. I mean, then we heard yesterday that Brock Purdy has a torn UCL, ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow. He's going to be out 6 months. You have Trey Lance with the fractured fibula, had to have two different surgeries. You have Jimmy Garoppolo with a broken foot. I mean, they just cannot get that position right with a Super Bowl roster. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bosa, Tuafola Haufunga. They just have players all over that field. Offensively, Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Can go on and on and on. Trey Williams. I mean, they are a talented group, and it's like this is their third time being in the conference championship game out of 4 years, and just to keep falling short has to eat at you. And I think that's what you saw in some of the game with them with the extracurriculars and obviously the fight towards the end. It's just it has to be frustrating. You put all that work and effort in, and you have a really good roster and team, but you keep falling short. And I think that's why you're seeing now Brady actually being linked to San Fran and actually potentially going to go play there. He is a free agent. They have all the roster and talent. They have speed. Like that's what Tampa Bay was missing this year. Not a lot of speed at major positions offensively. They have speed. Like Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, they got some speed. Brandon Ayuk, they have speed on that team. And that would be a perfect probably landing spot for Brady if he decides to go there. But we'll see what happens in the offseason. But that is a major position for them. So we'll see if they decide to trade Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance or if they roll with Brock Purdy. But it's going to be tough, man. But year in, year out, that has been the position that's kind of hurt them.
Yeah, just total disappointment in that final game. It's not how you want to end that season. But I mean, it's almost just not fitting in a good way. But you play the whole season with Brock Purdy. It's your success. Yeah, he's getting the job done, but you have so much talent on this roster. And then you mentioned just first series of the game, he goes down. It's like, well, that's just football. It's like you have a backup all season. You know what can happen if he goes out for even a series, and just it all fell apart for him. And they really had no chance. The 3 fumbles too. Philly just ran away with it. But yeah, disappointing way to end it. But also, I think it was almost inevitable at that point. I mean, how long are you gonna be able to ride a backup with no one behind him?
Yeah, there's another backup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, it's tough. We'll see what
skating
happens.
on thin ice right there.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens next year. But their team probably going to be there again. We'll see how good the division looks next year. It's been rumors that Jalen Ramsey might get traded, the cornerback for the Rams. We'll see what happens with them and their roster. They, went all out for that Super Bowl.
And credit to Brock for going back in.
Yeah, for sure.
Because everyone's like, why isn't he going back in?
I mean, they didn't have any choice. I mean, it would have been Christian McCaffrey at quarterback. So, yeah, credit for him going back in. But, yeah, that conference, I mean, that division next year will be interesting. Arizona obviously going to have a new head coach. They fired Kingsbury. Kyler Murray is going to be out for a long time with the ACL injury. How will the Cardinals look next year? They're rumored they want to trade DeAndre Hopkins potentially. And then Seattle, they came in and made the playoffs. But how will they look next season? Will they try to get a quarterback in the coming draft? I think they have the number 5 pick. Will they try to trade up? Will they try to get a Bryce Young? We'll see what happens. That'll be an interesting division to look at next year. But let's go ahead and talk about the big game. Chiefs, Bengals, I thought the best game the whole weekend. Back and forth again. Came down towards the end. Bonehead play by our defensive end. But I thought he had a great game. Besides that, he had 5 tackles in the game. He's creating pressures. He's going to be a guy, I think, in the next year that will be a breakout. Is going to really help our defensive line. We've never had a truly dominant pass rusher. We've had good pass rushers to great pass rushers, and obviously Sam Hubbard and Trey Henderson. But be able to rotate him and have him next season playing some big minutes, I think it's going to help us out.
Yeah, I think we didn't talk during the game, but I got the sense that it was a game where we were both frustrated with our own teams for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so I just want to start in like the first half, kind of what we saw play out. So obviously Kansas City, they have that great opening drive, settle for a field goal. But Cincinnati early on, just all the sacks. I mean, you couldn't ask for a worse way to get going.
Yeah.
But then things changed like late in that first half.
Yep.
You guys start to get that momentum, and from the 2 minutes 22 seconds left or wherever, where the Chiefs completely botched that possession, went 3-and-out with the incomplete passes. You think of a NFL playoff game broadcast, it's about 4 hours. There was an entire hour plus where the Chiefs did not get a single first down from the moment with 2:20 left in the first half until later in the third quarter. But then you guys had to settle for that field goal
At the
right
end.
before the half. And so
Yeah,
I
that
said,
was brutal.
one of the things I got the sense of in this game, these teams are obviously familiar with each other. I didn't think that they would be taking too many risks. I thought they would be settling for field goals, but I just think in the first half, both teams did too much. And then you guys really could have you guys ended up stealing momentum early in the third, but not getting a touchdown at the end, I thought that was uncharacteristic. I thought that was going to be the kind of death nail.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. You obviously mentioned the first half. So it was huge for what our defense did because Burrow threw an interception and there was 2 minutes left and you guys could have went down another drive and extended the lead to 17 plus. You got a score. But our defense forced a 3-and-out, which was huge. Got the ball back to our offense. We go on a 95 plus play drive to get down into the red zone. But it was tough because, like you said, they were able to kind of get the momentum going, but they couldn't get the touchdown. And what we mentioned before when the Chiefs and Bengals played, and you brought up a great point. I don't know if you remember, Craig. You said it's going to come down to the red zone, and that's what this matchup comes down to: who can convert instead of field goals into touchdowns. And that's what y'all did for the most part. We stopped you guys early with the 2 field goals, but later on you guys started getting touchdowns, and then we were setting for field goals. But like you said, if we go in and get a touchdown there, we're only down 3 at the half, and then obviously we force, I think, the punt and get the ball back. But yeah, like you said, that was huge to be able to go down there. But just to not be able to get the touchdown really stood out. And it was tough because, I felt Burrow had to make reads faster. Obviously, he throws the ball really fast with 2.5 seconds of touching it. But it's tough when you have to consistently do that throughout the game and you're on edge and, you don't know, you're not really believing in your protection. And I don't know if you saw this, Craig, but Burrow is never animated. He wasn't really, but it was a play they showed. He was talking to his offensive line, like, come on, let's go. We can do this. He never does that. He kind of just stoic, goes to the sideline. But that was a sense of I knew, like, okay, he's kind of sensing, like, I'm going to need you guys here because I need time to read the defense and things like that. So that was the first half. Obviously, second half going, we were able to force the 3-and-out, able to go down and get the big drive. I mean, I don't know if you remember the same drive, but that 4th and 6 play, that might have been after. Actually, that was after. But that play to T. Higgins, that play to T. Higgins was huge, getting that score to cut it 13-13.
The touchdown.
Yeah,
that was
huge.
Insane.
Yeah, that was huge.
Perfectly placed ball. You saw just the height of T. Higgins, got 2 guys kind of in between them, just made it look easy.
Yeah.
And so, that was massive. To come out, get that stop on the Chiefs, the 3-and-out, as you said, and then march right down and get that touchdown pass. And then I thought from there, things closed out like in the third quarter weird. I think that was when Mahomes had the turnover, and then did you guys turn it over again? I know the Chiefs had a ton of just like tipped balls, great plays in that sense, but
yeah, Mahomes fumbled it. Yeah, you guys were actually up 20-13, I believe. Yes, that was the big 4th down play. I remember. Yeah, Mahomes, I think, was trying to throw it, slipped out his hands, big fumble that we got. You guys were driving, and you guys would have went up more. Even if a field goal would have put you guys up 10. So that was a huge play for the defense. I think that was going in the 4th quarter, or in the 3rd. Yeah, so we got the fumble, and then we were on 4th and 6 on the Kansas City 41. We could have punted. I mean, double covered. Throw it to Jamar Chase, perfectly placed ball. I mean, that play was huge. I knew that. I was like, yo, Jamar is different.
It was one of the sickest catches I've
seen. I mean, like, that was just sick for him to do that. And, we went down and, we did score. I don't think Burrow threw a touchdown. I think it was a running touchdown to P-Ron.
Yep.
P-Ron got in. Yeah, so that knotted it at 20. So I thought our defense did good. Like, we got this. We got the stop with 4 minutes to go. So Wilt's obviously talking about some of the controversy. So this is the 4th quarter. I mean, you guys can say what you want. I'm not blaming officiating for that loss at all. But it was not good at all. It's crazy to me. Everybody's like, oh, well, he came onto the field. Okay, again, me and Craig seen football for a long time. But head officials coming down to stop the play. Even if they said, oh, well, he came down. the head official there should have easily been like, "Hey, plays dead, plays dead." You know what I'm saying? He's motioning something, or that official from the sideline could have came all the way down and continued to end the play right there. They didn't. They ran the whole play. We stopped Kansas City. And then they're going off the field. It's fourth down. They're about to go punt, and then you give them another down. I mean, come on, bro. Like, then basically that's a fifth down. They get it again. Then we stop them again, get a sack, and then you're gonna say a BS holding call. When it wasn't really. I mean, whatever. He batted the ball down. So everyone's like, "Oh, well, it didn't result in anything. They still punted the football." But what really mattered in that instance was the field position. Like, instead of being on their own 8, we could have been on our 30-yard line. Like, all that stuff plays a factor. Nobody thinks about that, but
Yep.
that plays a key factor. That was atrocious to me. I mean, there's no viable explanation for it. And I thought about, somebody said this too. They could have easily just redid the clock after.
Yeah. So here's my question. When I was watching it live, I said they're trying to reset the play right there, because it's something was off with the play clock after that play. But then I didn't see that guy come out and wave off the play. And so what was he waving it off for? It wasn't a flag.
No.
So he was just out there saying we need to redo the clock.
Yep.
And that's why, even if the rules, okay, you call the play, I've never seen that. I've never seen someone being able to run a play and then some ref is waving off like literally as it's being snapped, and then you just give them what seemed like a do-over. And then what happens the next play? You get the holding call, the automatic first down when it was a 3rd and long. I mean,
Yeah.
that was just insane. I just sat back. I said, here we go. And I knew that I knew there was going to be a lot of just upset people, because, I mean, in a game like that, I think you said it best. You just got to let them play.
That's it.
And in that situation, yeah, can't you reset the play clock? If there's a clock issue, what's the issue though? If they got the playoff, it's like, if you didn't give them enough time,
That's a different story.
Exactly. If you reset the play clock too early or whatever, and it's been running 10 seconds off, if they get the playoff anyway, like, what, are you going to come out in the last second? It's like, I haven't seen that. It's just very bizarre.
Very bizarre.
And yeah, obviously the Bengals sideline was just furious after that point, because the defense was, doing what it does.
Yeah,
making
I mean,
big stops, and
yeah,
that just killed the momentum.
Yeah, it did. It was terrible, but at least we got the stop. And then, like I said, that 4-minute drive you guys had that you guys could have went down, scored. They forced another punt, so the defense stepped up big there, got us back to football. I thought that drive was about 2 minutes. I thought, like, that drive we had to get some points. We had to go down and score if we wanted the chance to go win. But it's unfortunate. 30-16 they converted, which was a great play by Hayden Hurst. But I thought the other play, obviously, great play by Chris Jones, but that was a illegal hand to the face. Wasn't called. But it comes down to we couldn't protect Burrow enough. We got to figure out our offensive line. And obviously, well, I will sum that up in a second. But obviously, towards the end, the bonehead play, Chiefs get in position. That was a block in the back too on that play for Sky Moore, I thought, as well. But it wasn't called, so it is what it is. And they got in position, kicked the field goal and won. But it really comes down to we couldn't protect Burrow enough. Those 2 turnovers hurt. The first one, T. Higgins admitted that, it was a miscommunication, and that was on him, the first one. And like I said, I just felt Burrow was never comfortable, but he was throwing some dots out there. That one that hit Jamar Chase in double coverage again in the helmet, the incomplete pass, that was an incredible throw. I mean, you can't place the ball no better. And for him to be in his second full season as a starter, to be able to make those kind of throws, I mean, we have the guy that can win it all for us. We have to get an offensive line, build some depth around it, more than just 5 players. We need to draft well in this draft. That was a standout to me. And then defensively, we couldn't stop MVS. He was killing us. 6 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. We had no edge for him. And then Kelsey had his best game against us in the time that we played in the 4 matchups. Because most of the time, he has a couple catches, a couple yards, that's it. But he went off in this game, and he had a good game as well.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Sky Moore. I think that's really interesting because Hardman was back. I don't know if he was going to take that duty. He took some shots early too. It's like, welcome back from IR, and just immediately is getting blown up out there. But Sky Moore is a guy where he came in, he never returned kicks in college. The Chiefs put him out there a couple times this year, and he just kept fumbling the ball. think he had like 3 fumbles in a row, and he got pretty much benched. You put him out there in that situation, and
Spo.
people were saying, is a block in the back? I don't know. I didn't really see it, but I mean, that return was huge, and you just can't allow that. Knowing that the Chiefs, I mean, that's what they've done the last 2 playoffs, is just miraculously use these final waning seconds of a game to steal a victory, and then you allow that big return that gets them hyped up. I think they had 1 short completion after that, and then the big Mahomes play, and we all saw it on the sideline. It's like, there it is. As soon as he hit it, I knew what happened. And then you're going to set him up for a 40-yarder. Just that.
It's tough.
A brutal way to end the game for sure.
Reminiscent of 2015. If you guys don't know, look up the clip. It's like they, wasn't as well. I don't know if you say it wasn't as bad, but we just self-imploded against Pittsburgh. It's the same kind of feeling I got towards the end with the unnecessary roughness calls and setting them up with the field goal to win. So it's tough, man. But it is what it is. You got to respect the Chiefs. Obviously, like I said, everybody wants to talk about coming to the season, Bills, Chiefs, Allen, Mahomes. But again, let's see him beat them when it matters most. Yep. I've yet to see that. He's beat him regular season, but has he beat Mahomes in the playoffs? It's 2-0 against him. So only quarterback that can say this beat both is Burrow. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, shout out to Mahomes to be able to play that well on 1 foot, 1 leg. It says a lot. But the rivalry is really the Bengals and the Chiefs.
For sure. And there's a lot of teams that I feel like are trying their best in the AFC to build a team that can take on the Chiefs. They're kind of that standard right now. But, I mean, this season, they were playing 10 rookies out there in that AFC Championship game. And just, I thought defensively, the way those rookies were playing in the secondary, the tip passes, thought they had a really strong showing defensively. I mean, I was pretty surprised. I think the Tyler Boyd injury definitely hurt.
That was huge.
That takes a big fraction of that offensive firepower off the table.
Yep.
But still, I mean, I thought you guys could have ran the ball more in situations, but
they didn't run it enough.
Burrow was coming up big on these 3rd and longs. You guys were keeping drives alive. I mean, he took a lot of careful decision to just spike it on a 2nd down, knowing that even if he tried to pick up 4 yards, it wasn't even worth it. Just get rid of it. And he had that confidence on those big 3rd down plays. So once again, I mean, I just thought it was a game where I couldn't tell who was going to end up winning the entire time. The final minutes were absolutely insane. And I just think, as exciting as a game as it was, I think both fan bases have definitely had their reasons to be frustrated at what was going on with some of the decision making. Didn't like the early challenge. I thought that was completely stupid. It was abysmal with the clock management at the end of the first half. I thought some of the laterals that the Chiefs were trying to do were just
remember that.
Bush League. It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
But other than that, I thought they played hard. Pacheco, what a addition he's been for the Chiefs this year. He was taking some shots too.
Yeah.
And he was still in that game battling, where it looked like he wanted to get some relief on the sideline. So Chiefs are a little banged up. They've definitely had a long season, but I just think Mahomes definitely powered through that injury and came away with a memorable one.
Yeah, sure. And I thought Bengals had a good game plan for Pacheco. They really limited him because he was running really good, this whole season. So I thought they had a good game plan. But again, back to Craig's point, I don't think we ran the ball enough. If you go and look, and I talked about it on my TikTok, and I mentioned it, like, go look at the Bills game, right? And then go look at this game against the Chiefs, right? So we ran the ball 27 total. I did not mean to do that. Sorry, y'all. That was an accident. My bad. Okay. Sorry.
Well, I'll talk real quick. I think on that play we're talking about where you guys settled for the field goal before the half, Mixon picked up like 7 yards on 1st down.
2nd and 3.
Yeah, 2nd and 3.
Yeah.
And then it's just the 2 straight deep balls.
I don't get it. You need 3 yards.
Yeah.
You need 3 yards. Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, you guys had the timeouts in your situation or in your favor the entire time. I thought the clock was in your favor a lot of the times, and that's what was so crazy about it as a Chiefs fan. It's like, okay, they have the ball, they have the clock going for them, they have the timeouts in their pocket. We're screwed, and
Right.
then thanks for refs. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, back to my point. So look at the distribution. So 27 runs to 36 passes in the win against the Bills, right? We threw the ball 41 times and ran it 13 times in the game against the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? You go in that game knowing you have 3 backup offensive linemen, right? 3. So it's like take some pressure off of Burrow. Again, back to Craig's point, 2nd and 3. While the deep shots, they double chase after Boyd went down, they were doubling chasing Higgins the rest of the game. Take some pressure off of Burrow, right? Let's run the football. Mason gets 7. Even if you don't think, because most people give him flack and say, oh well, he lacks vision or he's not hitting the hole hard enough. They put P-Ron in that position, run the ball. He had 5 carries the whole game, 5. So it's just that's what I've been talking about all year long about the Achilles heel was that, and I think it showed up again. Obviously, Burrow is a great quarterback and he still made the throws. He did have interceptions, but take the pressure off him and incorporate some of the run and be a little more balanced, and you'll see a different result. And I thought that stood out too. Craig, back to Craig's point, 2nd and 3. You need 3 yards. When we were in the Super Bowl, right? We had the timeout in our pocket, Craig. It was 3rd and 1. We go and try to throw the ball. It's 4th and 1 now. We throw it again. You needed a yard. You needed 1 yard. Run the football. It's just sometimes that situations like that, kind of irritates me a little bit. Just you have the running backs to do it. You don't feed them enough. When you feed them, last game, Mixon had 105 yards rushing and a touchdown. Feed your horses. Feed your talent. Sometimes it's not going to be in the passing game. I know we're a spread offense, but you can depend on the run too. You saw what happened in the Buffalo game. You were balanced. It was made it easier for the offensive line, and it made the difference. I have to do that same thing next year.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. Still, though, I think Chris Jones I said he was an animal.
He just wrecked the game.
And yeah, he really just the Chiefs set the tone early on. I know Bengals came back, had a chance to win, but I mean that's just really hard to shake off. Just all those early sacks, and that really shakes the confidence of the offensive line trying to fix these holes right off the bat.
And I even have a stat for you, Craig, that might surprise you. We were coming into this game 11-0 when we scored first or had a lead. 11-0. So think about the Bills game. We get the ball first. We go up 7-0. Get the stop, 3 and out. We go up 14-0, right? Already playing ahead. So we're feeling good. Our defense is going to make the stops. The defense is good enough to do that. We played behind the entire game. Then we didn't lead not once. And like you said, those 3 consecutive sacks and 3 consecutive plays, you got to adjust. That's the big thing. Chiefs adjusted. Steve Spagnuolo had a great game plan defensively. He knew what he wanted to do. He was pressuring Burrow. That didn't get home. His defensive lineman get home. Willie Gay had a good game. Obviously, Chris Jones, Frank Clark had a good game. So you have to be able to adjust in that situation to them. I thought our defensive coordinator did a good job adjusting, but offensively, adjust. You don't have to throw all that. Your top target, one of your top targets, and Boyd is out running the football. But
Chiefs, their passing game coordinator defensively, I thought they did outstanding.
Yeah.
They played as a unit. They made everything difficult. Gave up some big plays, but really it was all contested. And Jimmy's saying that it was definitely a block in the back on that punt return. I need to look at that again. The rule of thumb is if the guy falls on his face, it's a block in the back. So I know what play you're obviously talking about. I have not seen that, though. I need to get a closer look at that. And then you were bringing up a potential pass interference or roughing the passer. I definitely saw that one too. And I was watching it with my mom, and I was like, we got away with that one.
Yeah.
You're hitting a quarterback like that.
He took 3 steps and still hit him. The ball was clearly out of his hands.
Yeah, that one was fortunate as well. So it's just that's the thing that always makes me mad about officiating, even if it goes this way or the other way. There's just inconsistency. Nothing is consistent.
Nope.
You'll see a play. We'll talk about it. It's like there's clear pass interference. They don't call it. There's a rough in the passer. They do call it. They don't call it. It's just like it's got to be more consistent.
It does, and for me, I don't feel bad that it's a tough job. These guys are making 100+ K a year to do this part time. I don't feel bad. Do your job. You chose to be a ref. You're making good money. Like at the end of the day, the NFL they need to have full time refs. They make enough money. A billion dollar industry. You can pay refs full time to do the sport easily.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the solution? More refs out there? It's like I don't
I don't know about
think
that
it's
one.
that
I
at
think
all.
better
It's just
training.
or just I don't know. I mean, roughing the passer, someone's looking at that every play. I
Yeah.
would hope.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think, and so yeah, it's like what's the rule on that? We've seen so many crazy calls this year where they'll throw it when someone's barely touched. Other times you get absolutely jacked up and they won't call it.
That's so true. It's just so. That's a great point. It's so inconsistent. Like somebody will just do a tap and it's a roughing the passer, but then somebody else will just basically mess the quarterback up and nothing's called. It's a great point.
Yeah, slam him on his head and it's just a football play. And then the other one's like clearly just gets like pushed into him and like barely touches him and they call it. It's just
Great point.
insane.
Inconsistent, but we'll obviously leave that there. We'll get into some more news. Obviously, we'll talk about Chiefs advance to the third Super Bowl in 5 years. So, Craig, how do you feel about that? And then obviously we'll talk about your comment about Jacksonville cash in a second. But what do you think about Chiefs advance to the third Super Bowl?
I think it's very exciting. Defensively, the game plan we had against the Bengals, I thought was great. I think we'll have our work cut out for us just with the Philly offense, the size they have up front, their ability to run, the pieces they have around Jalen Hurts, their athletic receivers that once again can make these big plays. But I do like our chances. It's been there before. We have Mahomes. He showed he had the magic. That was the big hurdle to get over. That was the kind of the proverbial monkey to get off your back because everyone's talking about it. Oh, the Chiefs can't beat the Bengals. Well, however it ended up happening, it's a huge momentum builder. Now they can just focus on this one game, cut out the storylines, do what they do best, draw up a good game plan, and try to out scheme the Eagles.
Yeah, obviously I'll do a quick breakdown of the matchup, and then we'll get in Super Bowl picks next week because obviously Super Bowl will be that following week. So, quick things to look for. Okay, so if you're Philly, right? Obviously, the rookies for the Chiefs are really good this season, but you got to run the football, right? You got one of the best offensive lines in football, right? You got Jason Kelsey, you got Landon Dickerson, and you got Lane Johnson, who are all Pro Bowl, All Pro selections, right? Run the football, build off that, run it to Sanders, Gainwell, put Chiefs in the bind, make them make a decision, make the defensive linemen, defensive ends make a decision if they want to go after Hurts or if they want to go after running back as far as your read option, right? Then let that placate off of playing into the pass, right? Involving A.J. Brown and involving Devontae Smith. But if you run the ball early, you make their safeties come up and cheat a little bit, and then you can throw your deep shots, right, with A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. So that's what's going to put the Chiefs kind of in a quandary. If you're the Eagles, you want to win the game, right? So what they can do is, let's say they double Devontae Smith or they double A.J. Brown, right? So it's more guys in coverage. That's going to open up your rushing lanes where you can run the football, right? So you're going to put him. It's going to be almost like a pick your poison kind of thing, right? That's what Philly has an advantage that we didn't. We couldn't run the football, so we would just pass, and that made the difference. They could double team Higgins and Chase, right? So Philly, you can't more so do that. So he's going to have to throw different schemes in there: cover fours, cover threes, cover twos, a little bit of everything. Because if he does a little bit too much, then he can pick you apart, right? So that's going to be the key there, right? Offensively for Philly. The key on the other side of the ball with Mahomes is how healthy is that ankle, right? He said he's fine. You obviously he could beat you in the pocket, right? But Philly has a really good defensive line, right? One of the tops ever, really, you could say. Only reason I say that is because they were third all time in sacks this past season in 70, right? So Philly can beat you with their front four, right? You got obviously Fletcher Cox. You got Hassan Reddick, who tore up the game last week, right? You got Jordan Davis, the rookie, who's really good. Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, many of those. So the good thing with Philly is they can win with their front four, so they can play more zone. But Chiefs have a zone beater in Travis Kelsey who can give you issues all over the field, right? So if Philly runs their usual cover 2 or cover 3, like he could pick you apart. Mahomes can if he just allows obviously Travis Kelsey in the middle of the field running hitch routes, skinny posts across the middle. That'll tear up that zone all day. So Philly's going to have to do a good job of mixing things up right? Running some different blitzes, running different coverages because they run the same coverage. Mahomes is going to tear it up, right? But the good thing going for Philly is that their offensive or their defensive line is really good. But the Chiefs line has been good all year too. So that's going to be an interesting chess match to see how good that's going to be. And then can their receivers win deep against their really good secondary and corners? CJ Gardner-Johnson's been having a great season. I think he was top in the league in interceptions with 6 this past season. Darius Slay's a Pro Bowl cornerback. James Bradbury's pretty good. So, how healthy would the Chiefs receivers be going into this game? Kadarius Toney went out with an ankle injury. McCole Harmon had a pelvic injury, right? They had to depend on other receivers like Sky Moore and Kent to step up, right? So, how healthy would the Chiefs receivers be going into this game? Can they win on the outside against those corners? All that are things you got to watch out for this game. So, that's my quick breakdown of what to look out for. Obviously, we'll look a more in-depth look next week, but
I don't know how you can beat that. That's spot on. And I think the key is that Kadarius Toney injury. Sometimes he tries to do a little too much. I was showing you a clip a few weeks ago of this, just how hard his cuts were.
Yeah.
And I think he tried to do the same thing, definitely went awkwardly on that, I think, left or right ankle. We need him badly.
Yeah, and that's going to be the difference. The speed too, like you got speed in McCole Harmon, you got speed in Toney, so that's going to be key. The yak too is going to be huge in this game.
So true. Yeah, you got to be able to go sideline to sideline against that defense. Get it to guys that can catch it at 4 yards, turn it into a 14, turn it into a 10, and move the chains that way. You aren't going to be able to go up the middle against that Philly offense. They're going to be dialing up all the pressure, and so yeah, you need those guys that can take the quick catches and get upfield. With the Chiefs do have guys that are great at that, so we'll see. But I saw it actually. It reminds me back to the first half of the Bengals game. There were so many plays where the Chiefs weren't getting upfield. It's like they were dancing around, going backwards. It was driving me insane.
Yeah. You can't do that against Philly. You got to try to get up the field, make your move, and then go. And one more last thing, I'll obviously point this out before we talk about Jacksonville. Another key thing is going to be for Philly in the offense, long, methodical drives. You do not want Mahomes on the field having extra chances and turnovers and things like that. If you do that, you will be beat. You have to keep him off the field. Philly can do this. I've seen them do it. Got to go on like nice 13 to 16 play drives, milking the clock, running the football, playing some ball controls, keep away if you want to have a chance against Mahomes, okay? I've seen him enough the past couple seasons. I've seen him 4 times in 13 months. So I know the formula of how you have to beat him, right? That's what you're going to have to do, So we'll see what happens. But let's talk Jacksonville.
Yeah, my last point on Philly, I'm not buying into they haven't been tested yet. It's like just because they're beating teams badly doesn't mean I should feel good about it. I'll just put it that way.
No, that's a good point. I mean, that was in the national media. It was like, should you be concerned? Have they been really tested this season?
Makes no sense.
Major wins against Giants and the 49ers. But, I mean, I'm not buying that either.
Yeah, them beating teams badly is a weakness somehow. I don't see it that way. That team is scary.
Yes, for sure. So it'll be a good Super Bowl, but we'll leave it there. Let's talk Jacksonville. Jimmy said that's his favorite for next season. So how good do you think Jacksonville will be? Obviously, Trevor Lawrence this year, second year starting, took a big major step forward. They started the year rough. I think they were like 3-8 at one point. Went on a big streak. Got some big wins. Beat Dallas. Beat Baltimore. Made the playoffs. Came back from 27-0 against the Chargers. Improbable win. 130-130. How good can Jacksonville be next season, and what growth do you expect from Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, what I liked from Jacksonville this year is they really looked like a team out there. They had a bunch of guys kind of coming together this year, but they're clearly starting to build that identity. And why is that important? Because now they're learning how to scheme together. They're buying into the game plan. They're coming out and they're executing. I think they really learned how to play the game this last year. And you saw it just with them catching hot, getting all these consecutive wins, making that run, even overcoming, obviously, the Chargers game. And then they followed the Chiefs or whatever. But I think offensively, they're going to be able to look at what they did this year. They know how to game plan now. They know how just the mental aspect of the game that you have to do just to prepare out there. They know how to do that now. They've had this long year together, and then defensively, I really like the way they play together. So I think they're definitely going to be better next year, and I think they believe that they can compete with any team in the league.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, Jimmy, to see how that division is going to look next year. Obviously, like you got Houston in there, they're a question mark. They're going to have to build. They're going to have to get a really good quarterback. I mean, I think you can go wrong with Stroud or Bryce Young. How good would that rookie look in his first year? Indianapolis has questions as well. A decent roster, but again, that quarterback position is a question mark again. Will they get Will Levis or will they go for Bryce Young or CJ Stroud? So there's still a question mark. Tennessee is a question mark after letting AJ Brown go and Julio Jones, obviously. Treylon Burks had a decent rookie season, but I still think they need more talent at the receiver and tight end positions. And then obviously you got Tannehill, right? He got hurt, but how much time are you going to give him? Do you eventually move on from him and go young? I mean, obviously you drafted Malik Willis for a reason. So how will that team look? And then Derrick Henry is not getting no younger. He's getting older. He's a guy. He's probably going to miss a couple games this season now. So that's going to be a big question mark, I think, in that AFC South, how it's going to look next year. But you have to say that the front runner looks like it will be Jacksonville. They have a really good team. And as Craig mentioned, they've made some big strides this season, and they know how to win. And all that experience that this past playoff run has taught them is going to be loom large next year. So I definitely think that would be big for them going into next year. So we'll see. I think my biggest question is, what step can Trevor Lawrence take next year? What are they going to do as far as free agency goes, as far as Evan Ingram? He was on a 1-year deal. Do you bring him back? He was a really good weapon for them last year. Christian Kirk, they signed for a 4-year deal a couple seasons ago. They're going to have Calvin Ridley coming in next season. So, how will that look with that offense? Travis Etienne, I think, is a weapon they got to use more offensively. So how would that look going into next season? And I think they got the coach. So it'll be interesting to see how it all culminates together. And they may be a team that you may see make a playoff run. And don't be surprised if they do. They're going to have a lot of experience. Like I said, the AFC is tough. I saw something that said the NFC was tougher than the AFC. And, more major, right? They play tougher teams or whatever. But it's like the AFC is top heavy, obviously, with the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals. But still, you got teams that are on the rise, like Jacksonville and like the Chargers. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley, that's a question mark for sure to see how he comes out. But it's all about Trevor Lawrence. Being a quarterback at the level this team's trying to be, I mean, just think about the game plan and what he's having to kind of see on the field. I think he was really tested this year. We saw it. He responded well in key moments. But, yeah, he's got a lot of growing to still do, and I think he can be that quarterback. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, we definitely will have to see. But, yeah, let's talk about another news. Kellen Moore is out as the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator. Looks like Mike McCarthy is going to be calling plays, and he was just hired as the Chargers offensive coordinator.
I think it's huge. He's a guy that played for the Cowboys, and so for them to move on from him, they're saying that this is just another sign that this next year is the do or die for both McCarthy and Dak Prescott. So I think Kellen Moore, he's going to get a slight upgrade going to the Chargers. I think that's a good fit.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, but not in terms of an offense.
He got franchise tagged? Yikes. Really? We got to talk about that
I'm
in a second.
talking about Ezekiel Elliott. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No, I just mean in terms of the pieces around them. And obviously the Chargers had a position to fill after their disaster in the playoffs. But, I mean, the Cowboys, you say it. I mean, they had a great team, great pieces.
Roster, I think.
They were second in points per game, 27.7, second in yards per game, 391, and then fourth in the league in third down percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So offensively, they were good. It's just, they didn't have that clutch factor, and just had some questionable play down the stretch and some inconsistent performances after the good ones. So, I mean, you can't really fault the job he did too much, but it is interesting just to have a guy that was within the organization as a player, as a coach, now moving on. Looks like changes could be coming.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a make or break a year. My biggest question is, what is the expectation for Dallas? Like, is Jerry Jones expecting a Super Bowl? Like, is he going to move on from them to, if let's say they go to the Super Bowl next year and lose, or if they go to the NFC title game? Like, what is his expectation going into next season? I think that's a key question I will ask him of, what he wants to do. Like what's a failed season to him? Because obviously they got finally over the hump to me and won a playoff game, and was able to hang pretty tough with San Fran. So what's his expectation going with the team next year? And like you said, I think it's a make or break it year for Dak and for McCarthy, unfortunately, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, Sean Payton's still a question mark. Sounds like the Saints want a lot for him, 2 first-round picks for the coach. So I think he's at bay right now, but it'll be interesting to see how they're going to look next year, especially.
I think they're definitely thinking about that right now, but at the same time, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm getting ready to see what Philadelphia looks like in the Super Bowl because you're going to have to play them twice.
That's a good point to kind of go against that
how
point.
How good are they?
How good are they? They have 14 free agents coming up.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that team, that's why I think it's going to be important for them to win it all this year, because that team's going to look a lot different next year. They're not going to have that same talent in CJ Gardner-Johnson, and then, obviously they signed Hassan Reddick, but then, Jalen Hurts has a contract coming out. And then things like that. Got one more year for rookie deal under Devontae Smith. Like, all that stuff is going to be important.
Yeah, for sure. And you just think about how the Cowboys end. They have the win over Tampa. Tampa was abysmal in that game. They get beat up pretty bad against San Francisco, and then so there's a lot of excitement. Then they have kind of gone quiet, but I think it's because they got their hand on the button. They're ready to start moving pieces, but they want to see what happens with Philly 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, that's going to be important to see what happens with them. But I didn't see an update, but somebody shared with us that Lamar Jackson got franchise tagged, but I haven't seen anything.
No way.
Yeah, that's what Graham just said, but
no.
I haven't seen any Twitter updates or anything from Adam Schefter. So,
that was one of the things we talked about. Like, would that potentially happen? We thought that wouldn't, because it seems like he wanted out.
It did. So that'll be actually interesting. I'm not sure, but we got some breaking news real quick. We're gonna try to bring on somebody. We bring on Ben Guthrie, quarterback for the Alpharetta Raiders, at 1:30 exactly. So we're gonna have him for an interview, signing day tomorrow. So some major news I just seen on my Twitter handle. Aaron Philo just got an offer from the University of Minnesota. That was a quarterback for Prince Avenue Christian. So a major offer for him. And then one of our Score Atlanta's top 10, Harlem Diamond, just committed to Reinhardt University.
That's awesome.
So what do you think about that? Breaking news.
That's huge. So, yeah, Reinhardt, that's where Coach Dudley's son, Gordon, he played, coached there. Great school, great opportunity, not too far away. And I'm excited because Harlem Diamond, he definitely is good enough to play at the next level. I think it's a good fit for him. He's pretty much done it all, playing defense, catching the ball, running the ball. So just an exciting opportunity for him to go to the college campus, kind of see where he fits in and just continue to ball out. So it's good to see those Cedartown players getting these late opportunities. They earned it with the year they had, ranked number 1 for pretty much the entire year, come up a yard short in tough conditions, but that's a big news for him for sure.
I agree. So that's great. Major players committing right before signing day and signing their letters of intent. So happy for him. Hope he goes and balls out there at Reinhardt University. Shout out to him. He's a guy that made our top 10. And we're going to actually bring on another guy, like I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, in just a second. He should be calling into the show in a moment. But yeah, man, major news going on, man. So I hope you guys are excited for tomorrow. We'll have major coverage. Tomorrow will be a very interesting day for me.
Yeah, it's going to be busy. We'll also have our statewide list because it's hard to get those during the early signing day period because, as we said, it's usually the big Power Fives, but all of them are going to fill out tomorrow down to the D2, D3, so it will be very busy for sure. So that's exciting. And, yeah, so Reinhardt, that's in Georgia. Looking at their schedule real quick. We pulled up their class, which we'll look at it later, but they're going to have a lot of players we recognize. They've been doing a good job leading that program. So that's exciting. So Harlem and Eli both end up in the state.
Bailey Stockton, too.
Yep. So a lot of players staying in state.
Like looks like we got somebody for we bring Ben on. It says Marquise Davis for Carver Columbus, the most underrated and overlooked player in the state. Okay. That's a guy we gotta check out then.
See what year he is.
Yeah, let's check that out. Carver Columbus, Jimmy. You just gave us a guy. Okay, looks like we got Ben as well. Okay, let's check him
He's a
out.
senior, so yeah, we'll see if he ends up. He said he's still unsigned as of December 22nd.
The senior?
Yeah,
Interesting.
we'll have to look into
Yeah,
it.
we'll look into that, Jimmy. We're gonna bring on Ben though real quick. What's going on, Ben? How you doing?
Good. How about y'all?
Hey, Ben, can you hear me?
Sir, you hear me?
Sure, man. We appreciate you, man. I know that was kind of the last minute spur of the moment, man, but we know you're signing tomorrow, so major commitment you
Yeah.
just had. We went and talked to you how your recruiting's been and the whole process for you been, and obviously you played in our Georgia League Classic and balled out. So just wanted to take some moments to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, bet. So talk to us, Ben. That game, how was it playing? Obviously in the Georgia League Classic. What was you seeing out there? What just allowed the game to just flow so easy for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a great time. I had a few guys playing with some stars that week, and then it's not going to be like the dumb things down a little bit and just let the and had a great time that day.
Yeah, and then I want to talk just about your senior season in general. You had some experience as a sophomore and junior, but I mean, you really progressed. You just had a ton more completions, played a much bigger role in the offense. So, I mean, just in your mind, was it kind of just do or die this season, just putting it all on the line to try to get this opportunity to play at the next level?
My sophomore year, our coach came, young and inexperienced, going to build on that junior year, and then this year on offense. So everyone's trying to the next level. So yeah, I'd say had a great year on offense, and
And for you, Ben, how was it being coached by obviously Jason Curve in a program that's really been playing well under his tenure there? What does he bring to the table, just as far as coaching you and some things he told you throughout the season, just to continue to help you improve?
sure, he taught me everything I know, and just like not even just teaches you about life and how to situations and connect that the best thing the coach can do. But the like I said, taught me everything and just got us motivated for every single game we played.
We'll talk about Georgia Tech a little bit. What attracted you to that opportunity, kind of when it came about, and just why you were just confident that that's the right fit and that's where you want to take your talents to.
I wasn't really, looks, and then all of a sudden, this one he came up to the school, and then went up the next week. Had a great time there. Their facilities are awesome, but my father both played football there, fan and everything, and obviously just couldn't pass the opportunity up, and then just going there thinking I can play at that level, and just that I can too.
That's awesome. That's a dream come true. So, I mean, how excited was your family just to kind of have this process play out? I know it's been just busy for you trying to get all the recruiting finalized, but just to be able to say you're Yellow Jacket.
Hard experience, but enjoyed every second. That's exciting. Where you wanted to go older, so fired up.
Absolutely. And then do you have any special ceremonies planned for tomorrow just with your fellow Raiders?
Yep, we got 3 seniors, so excited about that.
Awesome. And then you're going to make it official in the morning. make that official announcement. Awesome.
And real quick, Ben, just for you, obviously, signing there and being a go to Tech, big accomplishment for you. As far as just you, from your perspective, what are some things you just want to keep harnessing on and improving, just so you're able to, get the opportunity to be able to play, on that next level, obviously, getting playing time as a quarterback at Georgia Tech?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Division I college football is going to be. So I just want to, when I get there, learn from Coach Wayne. He's a great coach. He knows, just put my head down and work.
Got you. And then another thing stood out to me, Ben, obviously, I was able to cover you in the Georgia League Classic. It just seemed like you were never rattled. You was always cool, calm, and composed. That one of that big drives right before the half, I remember you sacked twice. It didn't matter. You make the off kind of platform play. You get all the way to the side. You throw a dot. Is that something you work on? Is that something just kind of more innate, kind of just part of your game already?
Yeah, I would say that definitely inspiration for the stuff is what's going to come to life in the game. Beforehand is what's really going to make you successful.
And then this year, your final semester at Alpharetta, you got the opportunity to go to Tech after this. That's exciting. But now that you have the decision made, I mean, how excited are you just to close out your senior year?
I mean, pretty bored right now, honestly. But just working out. Just excited for summer for.
Just staying sharp, getting that arm ready to go up there, and you'll prepare report in June or July.
Yeah, it'll be like up there for summer and release.
All right, a couple more questions, Ben. We'll let you go, man. So,
Cool.
as far as walk us through kind of just what's the workout regimen like, outside of, let's say, well, first we'll talk high school and then we'll talk about like kind of now. So high school, right? Obviously you have to practice 5 days a week, right? Then it's it's the off season probably in January. So how often, during that time when you were in high school, did you, work out and work on different things and sharpen things as far as just, throwing the football and things like that?
You saying like last year you're getting ready for my senior year?
Yeah, like last year. Yeah, get ready for your senior year, your junior year. Like how often did you work out?
Yeah, so I take a first period lifting. So everyone have our lift first period, and then on before that. So we would probably get there around something, go up and lift, and then through like 3 times a week, twice in the season.
That's awesome. And then, one of the things, I mean, Najeh and I have talked about just how big of a leap you took your senior year, but I mean, what is one of the things you're working on, whether it's just footwork, delivery, or just how do you take advantage of these next couple months?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say that, consistent accuracy. I'm going to have to, there's going to be a lot of say about me and all that stuff, but argue with that. So just, accurate throwing the football.
Got you. And then last question for you, Ben. How important do you think it was playing like that 6A football? Obviously going to get some really great, opponents, the Romes and things like that, some upper echelon, talent. How do you think that prepared you, going on to the next step in your life and, playing football?
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. These past 2 years, my junior year, so I got a lot of beatings. Definitely prepared me for the college guys that you go up every Friday night on Saturdays too. So, yeah, for college football that I've been playing at the.
Got you.
Awesome. Well, Ben, don't stay too bored. I know you'll be working, get ready. Congratulations. It was a pleasure watching you ball out this season. We kept saying, man, he's got to end up somewhere. He's good. He's ready to go to that next level. We're excited to see it. Can't wait.
Yes, thank you.
Me.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you, man, especially you being last minute, man. So thanks so much. Congrats to you. We'll definitely be watching you in college.
Yep. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. All right. So, guys, it's Ben Guthrie. Appreciate him joining the show. We're going to wrap here pretty soon. But, yeah, just want to talk to him. He played in our Georgia League Classic, had 4 touchdowns, really accurate with the football. He's just a guy you can saw he can make the off-platform plays. When things broke down, he still was throwing dots across the field. So, a great talent. We'll see what happens on the next level for him.
Yeah, for sure. You said it best. He kept the drives alive, saw the entire field. Really, in that all-star setting too, which isn't easy. You're kind of coming in there off the sideline, sharing snaps, but every time he was in there, he just led his team effortlessly. I mean, as I said, that leap he took from sophomore, junior, senior year, I mean, that continues. He's really going to be competing out there. I think he is an outstanding player, and Tech will be happy to have him.
For sure. And as we wrap, Craig, is there anything major else you want to tap on, before we head into tomorrow on National Signing Day and things like that?
No, just looking forward to seeing what unfolds. I know Jimmy's telling us about Marquise Davis, 7 interceptions this season. Not everyone's going to end up getting signed. Hopefully something will come to him late. We will see. We're going to look into him. But, yeah, there's still other options. You can transfer to school, try to walk on the hard way. It's been done before, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. But guys, that's going to conclude us for today. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you, Jimmy, for always being a loyal supporter and always tuning into our show every Tuesday at noon. So, yeah, anybody that's been watching on our Twitter or on our YouTube, we're live every Tuesday at noon, breaking down major things across the football world, high school, college, and also NFL. So, hope you guys enjoy the show. And we'll see you guys again on Tuesday. If you guys want to tune in, Craig will be live tomorrow for his show, Drive for the GHSA state title, breaking down National Signing Day, having some call-ins and things like that, and getting into the major news. So tune into that tomorrow if you want to see National Signing Day coverage. It'll be live on our YouTube page, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.